Good morning, everyone. It's Bill,
Hey, it's Dawn.
and we are coming to you for a special Sunday edition of the SITREP podcast, Yep. Other Rooms.
Other rounds.
So today, we're going to catch up on everything hobbyish. And what's this on here? Oh, Jim. There's Jim.
Hello, everyone.
Sorry, Jim. That I guess Restream has updated their software, so you guys no longer show up in the column on the outside. You actually
Okay.
have your own widget. So I didn't see it, and now I do. And welcome to the show, Jim.
Oh, cool. I thought we were starting at 10:15, but no worries. I'm glad it was early.
Well, like I said, we didn't see anybody on, and we were like, well, I guess we'll just get started then. But welcome. Toughy ears. I don't know if this is an old quote or if you're actually just sitting there with your cup of tea, just anxiously awaiting the arrival of us. But here we are. So, in this show, we have some news. You guys may be following UK Games Expo coverage from our friends over at On Tabletop, because that is going on this weekend as well. And, many other things to talk about. And so we'll see you in 3, 2, 1.
Big Duke 6 Eagle Thrust. Put on Warhawk. Make it loud. And the Romeo Foxtrot. Shall we dance?
You are listening to the SITREP podcast, your source for everything related to historical wargaming. Whether you are looking for the latest wargaming news, reviews, painting tutorials, or playthroughs, you will hear about it right here. So grab your favorite beverage or brush and let's hit it.
Okay, we're back.
Hey.
Jim is back on the screen. He's done kicking somebody's butt on a game table somewhere in the world.
I'm not going to brag, but that's kind of true.
You can brag. We'll let you.
Make sure you check out his Anzio game tables. From last weekend was part 2 and part 1 was the previous week. There's some P-38 action and some tank action, and it's pretty cool. And I know he's working on, is it Saipan? I saw you post.
Yeah, we're getting ready for Saipan. I figured everybody was doing D-Day, Normandy this year. So we're looking at some of the other things that were also taking place at that time, things like Anzio and Saipan.
Awesome. That's awesome. So we are kind of working on things behind the scenes. Oh, by the way, when you go to build models and you need superglue, you might want to check on your superglue. My superglue is now basically putty.
Yeah,
so
it is.
I mean, I know you guys can't really see it on camera, but it is basically a lump of gel putty. So
did it just get old?
It's not that old. It's maybe a year old. I bought it last year. I don't know. It's an off-brand. It came with the accelerator, that everybody uses. But yeah,
Did we have it somewhere that I had like a weird?
It's been in this room.
Swing?
It's been in this room.
Okay, I got nothing.
So, yeah. So there you go. It's kind of hard. Plastic glue doesn't work on resin.
Nope, that is true.
Nope, doesn't work on resin. I tried Elmer's glue. It don't work.
No.
So, anywho, Jim, it's been a while, my friend. What you got going on? Hey, I like your shirt, dude. At least you picked the right monster.
That's right. There you go.
King Kong sucks.
He does. Oh my God, I so agree. I can't stand it. I don't want to be unpatriotic, but yeah, King Kong is ass. He's never been.
I don't know if
my favorite.
Kid, Jim. When I was a kid, and at Fort Riley, my dad was stationed at Fort Riley, and I was a kid. I was like 7, 8, 9, 10-ish time. It was perfectly acceptable for a kid of my age to walk around post, not feel like you're in danger, threatened, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I used to walk to the movie theater on Saturdays and go to the matinee or the early show, and they always showed Godzilla movies, like the traditional. And I'd sit up in the row trying to look down the mouth of Godzilla to see if I could see the guy inside.
No, because the guy's face is actually kind of where his neck is. The mouth is way up here in the suit.
Yeah.
Yeah, those old Showa era ones. Godzilla versus the worse the better. Godzilla versus Megalon. That's why I never make fun of anybody's fandom, even if I can't stand the franchise or whatever. Because I have this little voice in my head reminding me, you like Godzilla movies. So
Godzilla. Have you seen the TV show? What's that TV show?
The one on it. It's on.
There's
Apple,
one about
right?
Godzilla on it, and it's got Dennis Quaid in it and his son. I can't remember.
On television?
Yeah.
It's Netflix or something?
Is it on Apple
It's
TV?
on Apple TV.
It's on
I
Apple
think.
TV.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's really cool. So
It's totally different. I don't know what I was
Netflix had an animated series that was kind of a mixed bag, but I saw that one a little bit, but that was a while ago.
yeah.
But
Yeah, Godzilla, man.
oh yeah.
There's a game we need to come out with. We could just stomp all over Miami or New York. I know it's big protected IP, blah blah.
I was gonna say I way back in the day I kind of had one, Toho Monsters.
Oh yeah.
You would roll up a monster and it was complete goof. It was you wouldn't even get like it was like you roll up like what class of like were you a giant bird or a giant reptile or a giant amphibian or whatever, giant fish. I mean, you didn't even get to pick like your species. It was just like then you'd roll how many limbs you had. It was complete silliness. But
Oh, that sounds
I was
fun.
gonna say complete goof. You have my attention here. Jim.
no, yeah, it was yeah, and then we'd build a city. It was a hex game, and then you just like write down like these scrap hex like how many stories the city was, like how many stories each building was, and good monsters. If you got to pick whether you were good or evil, and evil monsters you got XP for how many buildings were destroyed, and then good monsters basically you at the end of the game you added up all the surviving buildings, 1 point per story, and then divided it between all the good monsters. And it was because we were part of a really big D&D group back in then. This is like back in the early 90s. This is back forever ago. And it took them forever to get started. So we came up with this silly game that took like 15, 20 minutes to play while they were waiting, while we were waiting for these people to get started. And it got to where it caught on in our group a little bit. And before you know it, we were playing that instead of D&D. It kind of took over. And then people were always like, "Oh yeah, you should go ahead and publish it." I'm like, "Are you familiar with Toho International Studios? They will sue you faster than Lucasfilm, Disney, and GW combined, man. Those people don't play around."
Yeah. Jim, are you familiar with? I've heard of the game, but I've never played it. Creature That Ate Sheboygan.
I've heard of it. Yes, it's an old Steve Jackson game, I think.
Spectacular.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Why would he go to Sheboygan is what I want to know. I mean, of all towns.
Have you been to Sheboygan? I've
No.
been to Sheboygan. There's not much in Sheboygan. But hey, you never know. Let's see. Rusted Beetle, after rolling up a giant squid, okay, there's a setting in a desert wasteland.
Yes,
Hey, quite relaxing, man.
Yep.
Right? So yeah. Long live Godzilla. That's all I'm gonna say about
absolutely.
that. So on the historical front, sir. So you're doing Saipan, you did Anzio. You have another anniversary coming up, right? That you're doing or what?
We're gonna do a little bit on D-Day because we don't want to completely ignore it. There was a game that took place right behind Sword Beach, one of the British beaches, that we recorded like last year. But I still have it in the can. I'll be building that in the editing bay throughout the week and hopefully roll that out next Sunday. So it'll be a little bit late for June 6th. And we're going to be doing Saipan on the 15th. Now, the landings were on the 15th. The game will take place on the 15th. So the video will be at least a week late. Apologize for that. But before we move off that topic, I did want to send out a huge shout out to my friend Blair Fenning up in Maine, who printed all those Amtraks for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and he sent me all the fails too. He's got some glorious fails, and they look like they've been struck in the front and like an anti-tank shell, and then it blew up on the inside. Perfect wrecks, perfect terrain.
I was gonna say, there you go.
Yeah, totally. So, and a whole bunch of other stuff he sent me. So, big shout out to Blair. Thanks very much. Not only did he come up with that stuff on a very, very fair price, but also putting up with me bitching about the timeline, because I was like, if you want to make this for me, you got to tell me now. Is it done yet? Is it done yet? It's because we're trying to make the anniversary. Is it done yet? Tell me when you're ready to ship. I'll pay extra for shipping. You got to send it down here overnight because I still have to build and paint them.
Yeah.
So, thanks for all that. And they'll definitely have pride of place. We're going to be doing Red Beach, the 2nd Battalion, 6th Marines, 2nd Marine Division up against, I think it's 136th Regiment of 43rd Imperial Japanese Army Division. That's the specific beach we're going for on June 15th. Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. My friend Mark Ritchie at the Dots Creek House, home of South Miniatures Gaming Club, is going to be putting up the Japanese army because I don't have any Japanese miniatures really. So lots of emplaced artillery, some light Japanese armor, some Type 97s, some Type 80, Type 95s, all those really crappy Japanese tanks. Yeah, it was a pretty significant battle, and it often gets overshadowed because it takes place almost the exact same time as Normandy. In fact, the invasion fleet for Saipan, it was Saipan, Tinian, and Guam, and they all were invaded more or less simultaneously. But that big invasion fleet set sail on June 5th, like the same day those C-47s were taken off to drop 101st and 82nd into Normandy. So, it just took them longer to get there. But yeah, June 15th is the anniversary, and we'll hit it pretty hard. We hope to have some good content up for that, pretty soon.
Very nice. Very nice. Morning to everybody checking in. Good morning, Dennis. Good morning, John. Rusted Beetle, Madman, Tough Ears. Rusted Beetle, did you receive your prize? I hope you did. I think you did. It says you did. Dawn, you have something to show off. Do you want to show it off?
I do. Sure.
We show and tell time.
Show and tell time. Well, this isn't like dreadfully exciting, but in keeping with the last time we talked, we got ourselves a wheel. And so I am working on making our list of games. There is 14 spots on there, and I'm being fair, and I'm not putting all the dorky stuff that I like to play as the only stuff.
What do you have on your list so far?
So far, I have Blood and Plunder.
Yep.
Mythic Battles Ragnarok.
Yep.
Witchborn.
Yep.
Warhammer Fantasy.
Uh-huh.
Shatterpoint.
Uh-huh.
Battletech.
Uh-huh.
Undaunted.
Uh-huh.
What else do we want?
Clash of Steel.
Okay.
Hold on, let me look at the library.
I was gonna say the trick here is that it's gotta be stuff we have because we don't need to have to go acquire.
Battletech's on there. All right.
Which Lord of the Rings? The
GW.
Okay. What did
Morning,
you say?
John. Morning, Dennis. Battletech is on your wheel.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a pretty hefty investment, unless you get like Alpha Strike or something.
Yeah, we'll probably do
We have
Alpha Strike.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what we got to do?
What?
Victoria's Cross 2's Rourke's Drift.
Well, of course we do. What else? We got 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces left.
You know what? If you guys have suggestions out there, put it in the
Rock,
comments.
paper, scissors. Yes, Tuffy. That is up my alley. I can totally play that. I already know the
Why
rules.
is Panzer Blitz and Panzer Leader not on there?
Keep in mind, you have to play it with me, Jim.
Yeah,
Actually, Battle Space. Yes, I have rules for Battle Space.
That's a good serious suggestion.
Yep. And that's a solo.
Okay.
It can be played too, but it's mostly a solo game. All right, we need 3 more suggestions, people. I'll put Panzer Blitz up there if somebody will play.
I'll play that survival game.
What survival game?
The one that's, come on, you and I played it where you get a scenario and it's another little game with the chits.
Are you talking about the National Park one?
Yeah.
We don't have it anymore.
Oh shoot. Never mind. That'd be hard to play then.
Blood and Valor for the wheel. That's the World War I version. Shit, I have to make trenches? Put it on the wheel.
Do we have it?
No.
Okay, well then it's not going on the wheel.
Well, how they know what we have on the wheel
I
now?
know.
They're going suggestions.
We got to start with the ones that we have. And then someday when we work our way through that, Malifaux would be good. Let's do that.
Dark Tower, Hero Quest.
Dark Tower and Hero Quest are not good for 2 people.
No, they're not.
That's the other challenge.
I don't know.
You want your oh
What?
no, did you get rid of it?
Heroes of
Titanicus?
Normandy.
Oh, yeah.
You do Pegasus Bridge. Hey, I could have done that for D-Day. Maybe I'll throw up a quick Wednesday since
Don't
my
throw up
blackout.
anything.
Since my whole blackout. Oh, blackout. You can put blackout on
Okay,
there.
there you go. Perfect.
I mean, there's so many. So that'll start.
Okay.
That's a start.
That's 14.
Stargrave. It's a good one. You know what? I actually have the rules for Ranger of Shadow Deep. Is that what it's called? Rangers of Shadow Deep, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's downstairs. Anywho, that's a good start. All right. So we'll get the wheel put together
Yeah.
and go from there. Okay.
What have you been doing? I've basically been doing the same thing, honestly.
Rangers of Shadow Deep. Thank you. What have I been doing? Well, we've been redoing our garage into a shop. We have now just taken delivery of our first of 3 printing machines. And I'm not talking like desktop machines. I'm talking big as our production table machine for printing custom things. Shirts, posters, glasses, anything you can throw an image on, custom made. We've gotten the first one. So we can start working on, and then we'll be doing hats eventually at some point and all that stuff. So been working on designs, and I don't know if I can. Where'd you put that? In OneDrive? I'll see if I can share design.
They're not in OneDrive. They're in your desktop.
Yeah, in OneDrive.
Okay, if you say so.
I do. Stand by.
So we've gotten to do kind of creative outlet on that. So we've been trying to put together like focus right now on like gaming related t-shirt design kind of stuff. So I've been working on a line of kind of D&D inspired things. They look pretty good. I'm pretty excited. I mean, now to be fair, I'm not gonna take total credit for it because I'm using AI generator for what I'm working with. I'm not drawing like Jim. Well, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna try to take that kind of credit because that's not what I'm doing. But they look pretty sweet. And then Bill's been working on the store side. He takes everything that I create image wise and he's putting it into the store for us.
Try to. Yeah.
Don't take too long with this.
I'm not. Go ahead.
Gosh, and if you guys hear craziness, it's because their dogs are being complete lunatics in the
So
background
here's a design you did last night. I'll share this one. It's an easy one. All right. Sharing. Share. There you go. So this is one for a t-shirt for Follow Me on an Adventure. So
awesome.
Yeah. So that's just stuff we're working on. Any news on my prize? Well, yes, Toughy Ears. As soon as I get the new printer in that will be able to print when I want you to print without being
it comes Thursday.
It comes Thursday. It was supposed to be here 2-3 weeks ago. I ordered it at the beginning of May, and they just shipped it out. So I have not forgotten about you. As soon as that shows up and we get it set up, you'll be running great.
All 3 of the machines were delay. The
Yes.
one we still don't have any news on.
Yes.
But
so anyway, so that's part of what we've been working on. And then we have to come into this room and reorganize again because we got new shelves and stuff, and then start filming some.
And then you see our displays in the background that we have kind of all over the studio. So
the Millennium Falcon bag.
Yeah, I did the display club over this last year, which I don't know if it's really a great deal or not, but whatever. I did it for a year. And so after you're a member for a year, you get 4 free ones a year. Let's be real. You're not getting anything free because you're paying for it all year long. But I did order our 4 new prints. They're going to be here this week. Also, I got a cool TIE Fighter scene one. I got a Phoenix. It's like really, it's kind of, it was in the Harry Potter line, but it isn't necessarily particular to Harry Potter. It's totally like a fantasy Phoenix kind of thing. I got 2 pirate ships that are fighting because I thought that'd be pretty cool to have up when we're doing Blood and Plunder stuff. And what was the other one? Oh, Hogwarts.
Yeah, go figure.
So
Anyways, there's that. Morning, Jen. Welcome to the show.
hello.
Did anyone else back crossbows and catapults? Isn't that the old Milton Bradley game where you had the rubber band thing and you
I think
shot it
so.
at the castle?
Oh my gosh.
It sounds familiar.
Yeah,
It sure does.
I think I did see that on Kickstarter. I
Like
did not.
1987, like, well, the original one. That's when I remember
Yep.
playing something similar to that.
Yeah,
That's fun.
but yeah. So some news out of Mantic, right?
Yeah, I saw that Alessio Cavatori and Mantic now have joined forces, and Mantic is going to be producing the River Horse games.
Studios. Yep.
So,
Does that mean they're taking over the My Little Pony RPG?
I didn't even think about that, but I would assume so because that's River Horse IP.
Like a
I
Jim's
know.
face.
Jim is pumped. Even I'm not into My Little Pony. I don't know. That's not my.
Do you remember how many people we saw playing it at Gen Con?
Oh it's insanity.
Yeah.
Insanity. Yes.
But more distressing to me is that they're going to be re-releasing an updated version of the game
Don't pick a fight.
of Labyrinth. I don't know what you all think of the movie Labyrinth, but to me,
Stop.
I'm not allowed to talk about it.
No.
Let's just say I dislike it immensely. It is a stupid movie.
Okay, all right, moving on.
Is that the one with Jennifer Connelly as the bitchy babysitter?
Yes, and David Bowie is the creepy pedophile king.
Yeah. That's probably the one Jennifer Connelly movie I don't like.
Labyrinth
Jennifer
is not awesome. It is a pedophile movie.
Okay, Jen, so are you into the My Little Pony RPG or not into it?
Are you a
What do you
pony?
mean?
She's not a clopper. She's not a brownie or anything like that.
Hey, if you like Labyrinth, I just don't get it. I really don't.
Oh,
and
she likes the movie. Okay, we'll let you have it then.
I must obviously Ghostbusters game.
I
What
do too.
Ghostbusters game?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
But I mean, it's just not my cup of tea. It's just weird. Just very weird. But anyway, I'd rather watch Dark Crystal than Labyrinth.
Now, Dark Crystal, she does like.
Puffy, do they have a Ghostbusters game in River Horse IP?
I don't know.
Like, I feel like, are we missing something?
I don't know.
I like Ghostbusters.
We kind of lost track of what Alessio was doing over there at River Horse because they've been quiet for so long. But anywho,
I'll have to look.
are you backing any Kickstarters recently?
No, I have been very good. I really have not been.
I don't know if I can say the same.
Well, you're always backing something, and unfortunately for him, I follow him, so I get a freaking notification every time he backs something on Kickstarter.
Well, I'm trying to get up to 100 backed projects. I'm stuck at 86. I don't know why. Well,
I know what you're talking about, Dennis. Who made those? I don't think
that
it
was
River Horse.
no, because remember we got the prototype. They sent us a prototype for review years ago.
But it's the guys that the guy with the hat.
The guy with the hat. Oh, okay.
There you go.
Yeah, a second. I can totally see him. It's the one that does Fortune and Glory.
No, it was not them.
Oh no, that's Flying Frog.
Yes.
No.
So I most recently backed Dragon Lock, Lost City of Dwarves by Fat Dragon Games. It's 3D printed terrain. It's dwarven terrain.
Oh yeah.
By our friend Tom Tullis. Make sure you take a look at
really
that.
Cool.
Then I backed the Wet Palettes, Duncan Roads, Epic Warpath, Rugged Hills Design, which I should have gotten the files for. I don't think I did yet. I'll have to look. But anyways, because that way you just print up your own tiles.
Now you got your printer. So you have to try some.
Yeah, but I don't think I'd use that for those kind of tiles because that's a lot of resin. Cryptozoic, thank you.
Thank you. There you go.
Yeah, actually, they sent us a prototype of Ghostbusters. Was it 2? I think it was 2, wasn't it? 1 or 2, and we reviewed it based off of that. So did he have a nose on his face too? Anywho, Jim.
He did.
Yep.
Let's talk about the main topic of the show. And that is, why do you play historicals versus other games?
Oh, I have to go first. I mean, I've played other kinds of war games. I've played fantasy war games. I've done more than my fair share of science fiction war games.
Mhm.
But yeah, I just keep coming back to historical because when it's historical, it's this is gonna sound bad, so I apologize if this sounds weird. But I'm trying to figure out a different way to word it. When it's historical, it just seems to have a little bit more meaning.
Mm.
When you're playing like Star Wars or who knows what, or you're playing some other kind of a game, you're not. It doesn't mean as much because it's not real.
Right.
And this also goes into like for a historical game, it's got to be at least start off. Of course, once the game starts, who knows how it's going to go? But it should be a specific scenario. It should be a relatively pretty accurate scenario. It should have a pretty solid footing in what actually happened, because those were real people, and they really died. I mean, I don't want to get on a too dour of a note here, but it's the sum. History is the sum total of who we are and how we got here. So, I mean, now I do like to play, like, say, just as an example, Dark Star, a sci-fi game. But even there, one of the things that helps people get into that game is that there's a very involved campaign system in that game. So every game, it feels like you're building something. So the game gets meaning that way, because you're creating like a long-term story. You're building, a fleet, a series of commanders, and things of that nature. But I don't know, just for me, the game's got to be part of a story of some kind. It's got to be part of of something that you're building yourself, or it's got to have some kind of meaning and grounding beneath just the game mechanics, just the dice, just the counters, just the miniatures. Otherwise, I would probably just be doing something else. So, I mean, historical is just the easiest route for that, I think, would be the shortest answer.
Gotcha. Dawn.
Really? You're going to ask me that?
Yeah. You want to be part of the show. You got to answer the question.
Well, to be fair, I guess I'm on the, for all of the reasons Jim just explained, is why I
don't play
find them a
historicals.
little less approachable, I guess, is my take on it, because it's certainly not that it's not interesting. I feel like I am being disrespectful to it, I guess, if I'm approaching it, because I genuinely have very little clue on it. I mean, outside of history in school, which I did really enjoy, it just has never been something I've been super passionate or really in the weeds with. And so I struggle with even feeling confident in knowing what everything is, how everything should work. And like, if that's going to throw like a severe monkey wrench in somebody else's gaming experience, I don't want to be that person. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's certainly not for everybody. I mean, I would never claim that.
I mean, but I mean, I certainly appreciate it. I mean, when
just like Labyrinth isn't for everybody.
We could, for God's sakes, let it go.
We're back to Labyrinth.
When we go to conventions and stuff, though, I mean, like the tables look fantastic.
Yeah,
and like I very much am interested, and I enjoy watching other people play it. It just isn't something that I gravitate towards to want to play.
So, Jim, if you want to answer John's question before I give my answer or feedback.
I mean, yeah, certainly, John. I may have already answered it. A campaign, fantasy, or sci-fi would be better than one-shots. Yeah, I mean, I've never brought. John is one of our friends down at Dawes Creek House, South Florida Miniatures Gaming Club. I've never brought Dark Star down there, but if I ever do, or if we ever play online, or I talk to other people in the community, Dark Star is. I mean, you can play one-shots of Dark Star if you want, and it's fun, I guess. But it's kind of a labor-intensive game, and it really only pays off if you're doing a campaign. So it almost has to. It doesn't have to be a campaign like per the rules, but it kind of has to be a campaign, because otherwise, I mean, you try it once or twice, maybe you like it, maybe you don't. But if you do like it, you're going to find yourself very quickly making up a roster of commanders, building your own little battle group or task force, depending on how high in the game you want to start, vis-a-vis scenario points and things like that. And before you know it, yeah, you have your own little war, and Psi Serpentis or Ursa Major or something like that, and there you go.
Yeah.
Now you're and kiss goodbye to the next year of your life because you're going to be playing Darkstar every week for about the next year, and you have a lot of fun with it. But it's got to be a campaign. It's got to build up to something, and if it's not building up to something, it's got to reference something that is real. To repeat what I said before.
Yeah, that's fair.
Most definitely. It makes 100% sense.
How about you, Bill? Why do you play historicals?
Because I like to be the underdog. I mean, I think I've made that abundantly clear in our podcast. Alamo, Rourke's Drift. Haven't done Last Stand yet. But eventually I will. Custer's Last Stand, Battle Little Bighorn. To me, I get to try and transport myself to that time period, to that location, and I try, at least in my head, try and imagine what it was like at that time or during those events. I mean, it's very hard. You have to have a really good, vivid imagination, obviously, to really, especially like I like visual tables. So when Jim does his, actual miniatures table versus the chits and hex encounters, it helps enhance the experience. But I have found myself when Jim and I were doing the crossing of the river.
Vol in
yeah, in Eindhoven. I could see myself fighting through the town and then getting to the river. Now, truth be told, I did have the movie to help me with the visualization because I didn't have a lot of visual reference material other than a few pictures from history books. What I'm talking about is the Bridge Too Far. The 82nd Airborne had to do the river crossing in the
Robert Redford scene.
Canvas boats, right? So,
what'd you expect, destroyers?
So yeah, I like the what ifs. That's why I like the underdog stuff, because what if? Could I change history? Could I do this differently? So like in Rourke's Drift, obviously the British win, the good guys. If you're on that side of the fence, there are no good guys and bad guys in war. It depends on what side you're looking at, to be honest with you. Now there are exceptions, like the Nazis.
Yeah,
bomb them to hell. That's all there is to it. We should have dropped an A-bomb right on Berlin and been done with it. Bada bing, bada boom. But for like the British invading Zululand, it gets very cloudy if you look at the real reasons behind why that whole war started. However, when you take 150-ish guys versus 4,000 and then they hold them off, could I do it differently to reduce casualties? Or could I have done it differently to prevent the hospital from getting fired? It's all those what ifs and what can I do better? So
like that 13 days project, 13 hours, I should say.
Yeah,
we did a little while ago.
Yeah. If you guys have not seen the 13 hours, 13 days project, go back in the history of this channel and look it up. It was based upon the movie 13 Hours or the Battle of Benghazi.
Yeah.
When you had the CIA security team rushing to the ambassador compound. Jim did the transit game. Excellent game. Him and Gaz was your player. So basically what happened is we took the premise of the movie, that 13 hours. So we took 13 days to build terrain for the miniatures-based game, and Jim did the creation of the I'm going to say
skirmish. That was the invention of SITREP skirmish. Yeah.
And so he played SITREP skirmish doing the transit game with Gaz, one of our team members. And based upon what happened in that game is how we played the miniatures game. So if somebody died in the transit game, we could not use them in the miniatures game. And then we picked up right outside the gates of the compound. So you will see we built the compound, the ambassador's compound. We built it on, I want to say it was an 8x4 table ish.
It was pretty big.
Yeah. So
in 28 mil. So
Wow.
for people who may not be super familiar, I'll go very, very basic.
Okay.
There are two sites in Benghazi at the time. There's the ambassador's consulate, which wasn't really supposed to be there, and then there was a CIA station that definitely wasn't supposed to be there. The ambassador's consulate came under attack, and about a mile and a half away is a group of PMCs, private military contractors. I think GRS was the actual firm that was contracted by the CIA. I don't really. I think that's what they were called. And they wanted to go help, the people who were under attack of the ambassador. But for a bunch of political reasons, we're not supposed to be here if we get involved in a major war, because it was a secret station. They weren't supposed to be there at all. So the Department of Defense didn't even know they were there until the shooting started. So a lot of people like to throw a lot of blame around about Benghazi. I won't get into the politics of it. But there was a delay of about, 39 minutes?
29 minutes.
Of them not going. And in the meantime, the consulate was more or less overrun. They burned it down, and in the course of burning it down, by then the ambassador had been in his safe room. So he was safe from direct physical attack, but because the building was burning down around him, he unfortunately did pass away due to smoke inhalation. And it was one of the first times we lost an ambassador, on foreign soil. So the premise to talk about being the underdog and changing history was, if that GRS team had left when they wanted to, could they have gotten to the consulate on time and changed the difference? And it's a very mixed bag. I mean, short version, yeah, we did. We got there in time. I don't think we lost anybody. Or like one of them was like seriously wounded or something like that.
Right.
Nobody was killed, but I think we had one WIA. And they got there, but because they got there while the attack against the consulate was still going on, you guys were up against 3D20 insurgents, and instead of the historical result, they got there late. By then, the insurgents had hit the consulate and had more or less left. There wasn't a huge battle there.
Yeah.
You got there in the middle of the main insurgent attack, and it was on the 3D20. It was like we rolled like 20, 17, and 16. We rolled really high, and I was like, "Well, Bill, I've got good news." And as far as like the outcome of the transit game, I got good news and I got bad news. You got your whole team, but you walked into a freaking shitstorm as far as insurgents goes.
Yeah.
Then you guys did that battle, and it came out pretty good.
Yeah, I tell you what, Boone was a beast in that game. With his, I think he had a saw or something, and he was a beast.
Well, once you're rocking the saw, you get like a +3 to all your badass rolls, because that thing will put out some serious firepower.
But yeah, it's probably one of our better projects that we've done as a team, where we transitioned from Jim's virtual to the physical tabletop. I'd love to be able to do another project like that. We just have to pick the right project and planning. What I came away from that project was planning is key, and really dedicating the time to it. It's just one of those things. You really have to set a time schedule. You have to set workshop time and all that, because I have these ideas, and we spew ideas once in a while, and it's just not well planned out on my part. Jim is like, Jim probably had one. Remember those organizers you used to get with the tabs? They had like their addresses and the calendars and the task list. Jim probably had 2 of those, right? So
I've got one of them still back in the Marine Corps.
And then I'm like the dude on Death in Paradise that keeps notes on receipts and shoves them in all those pockets, right? So yeah.
It's the old question of what's the difference between an imaginative person and a creative person. And there's people that just have ideas. I never really have that many ideas. And then there's the person who says, okay, the imaginative person gives the idea to the creative person. The creative person actually creates it.
Like spam.
Like I probably would never have thought to do, a Benghazi game, to be honest. But once the idea comes along, I'm like, okay, now how do we actually make that work, or whatever? While we're talking about, because of the day, it's practically on D-Day. This is a long time ago. Some long-time viewers might remember this. But back in the day, we did, me and a guy named Chris Goddard in Northern England. did the worldwide D-Day challenge. And to your point, yeah, it took us about 2 months to get it off the ground or whatever. But when it finally happened, the idea was to do as many battles as we could throughout the community on D-Day for D-Day. And we had a campaign map set up, all 5 invasion beaches, both drop zones. Actually, I should say all 3 drop zones. And once that would get, you would pick out like, okay, me and my friend, we play in Norfolk, England. We play in Cleveland, Ohio. We play in Spokane, Washington. We play in Phoenix, Arizona. We play in Berlin, Germany. We had 31 people in something like 19 games, 9 different countries, Australia, all over the UK, Denmark, Norway, Germany, of course, all of the US. And yeah, it was pretty much everyone had a little tiny piece of D-Day, and it was each game would affect every other game and so on and so forth. Even on tabletop get in on that. I think they were still Beasts of War in those days. They actually did at their bolt action boot camp. They did the Pegasus Bridge assault. And just as a quick example, the British in that scenario failed to take Pegasus Bridge. The Germans held Pegasus Bridge. So that immediately affected the Sword Beach campaigns, because now, guess what? 21st Panzer Division can actually cross those canals and get into the flank of Sword Beach. So we quickly get in touch with the guys who are running the Sword Beach games, plural. Yeah. There was more than one Sword Beach game. And we were like, guys, whatever your German player has, give him some good news. He's got some additional armor in his game, whatever you guys feel is appropriate. But definitely give him extra armor. Pegasus Bridge has held. So, and actually so did Horsa Bridge, 400 meters further to the east. So there's actually 2 bridges. People always forget the second one. And it was like, it wasn't all directly on June 6th. It was like June 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th or something like that. But those 4 days were they were like 20-hour days.
Yeah.
I had to take time off from work and just take the reports, pass it on to the next person. Hey, this is what's happening. But before that, it was a good 2 months to set up, getting everybody lined up, signed up. What system are you playing? Because it was an open campaign. Flames of War, Bolt Action, Panzer Leader, whatever you wanted to play, you could play it. And yeah, it was a lot of work. I'm not gonna lie, but it was a successful project. We did sort of change the outlook on D-Day, and I mean the Allies still won, but the shape of the victory was a little different. But yeah, it was, to your point, there's a lot of planning that has to go into it beforehand.
Yeah. I mean, people watch videos on YouTube and see the final product. A lot of times you don't see the hours and days and possibly months that it goes into coordinating and planning. How many times did you run the practice transit game? Like 4, 5, 6. I mean, you did several practice runs before we did the real run.
Well, it was also the design of a new system. So yeah. We weren't trying to like cheese the outcome by saying, oh, right, how do we do this just so make sure the Americans win. It was where SITREP skirmish came from.
Yeah.
It was originally designed and written for that Benghazi project.
Yeah. So I mean,
yeah, there was a lot of play testing.
You're looking at the creation of a brand new game, the play testing to make sure the game worked the way we wanted it to, and then you had your actual real transit game. And then in the same time, Marty and I were building the table, and I was looking for as much visual accuracy as I could get based on satellite photos and other photos. Obviously there's some differences, but when you overlook the table, it was probably as close as you could get to the real thing. And I was also, for me, I was looking at it from the perspective of a 28 millimeter guy. So if I look down at the table, what do I see it as a 28 millimeter guy, and what does the camera see? So do we have some good visuals? So,
yeah, the transit, the transit game's map was a straight out satellite photograph.
Yep.
So it was more or less perfectly accurate. I mean, it had to get hex-sized a little bit to make it work in the system, but yeah, we definitely went for accuracy on that one.
Yep.
As much as we could. Like, we got the Senate report, but it was heavily redacted because a lot of it's still classified to this day. So I mean, we did the best we could with the information available, but it was pretty accurate based on what information we had access to.
Yeah, and on the same token, you want to remain as accurate and as historically correct, but it also has to be entertaining, right, for people watching it. So I think we overall did a really great job on that. I can remember watching the transit game, biting my nails, going, "Oh God, this doesn't look good. I might be going in with one guy." So it was good. It was a great build up to the miniatures, the tabletop version. So I'd love to do another project like that, but if we do, we're gonna have to pick the right project, and we're gonna have to do out a calendar and hit these
Yeah.
dates. So it was a great learning environment, and I hope people really enjoyed it. Like I said, if you guys have not seen it, please go back and look up the Benghazi 13 days to 13 hours, and you'll see the transit game in there. I believe, Jim, you did a back behind the scenes video of how you created it.
Yeah, like drawing, like building the virtual miniatures, building,
Yeah.
'cause it's basically it's a virtual miniatures game, basically. I mean,
And then we did some videos on the table, and then the actual game itself, and it was really good. So that's definitely one of those ones. So yeah,
our 80th of Midway turned out okay. I mean, we originally planned it to be a little bit bigger with
Yeah.
multiple layers, but we kind of pulled it out at the end. I mean, Rasmus and I, that game took like 9 hours.
yeah,
But we did close the deal on Midway with a pretty interesting result. But yeah, probably 13 hours is probably it's probably the best.
you had your D-Day campaign that you and Andrew. It took you guys what, 2 days to play or something like that when you did the
Oh,
whole-
that was just one game of Panzer Leader. On Gold Beach, we did half of Gold Beach. Me, Damon, and I played the Germans. Damon took half the British. Andrew Lee took the other half of the British. It was like 9 hours, which for me wasn't too bad, but for them it was like, because they're in the UK, they're 5 hours ahead of us.
Yeah.
It was like 2 a.m. by the time they got done. I swear to God, they won that game on like the last die roll. The look on Damon's, because Damon's face is on camera right then. That video is way back in our history, by the way. The look on Damon's face when he threw that one is the best roll you can get in Panzer Leader. He threw that one in Panzer Leader. It made it all worthwhile. I swear to God, it's one of like my favorite gaming moments ever.
That's great.
It's great.
Yeah. So if you go back in our catalog, you'll see some really good stuff. Jim has a ton of stuff. You can see we did Rourke's Drift a couple of years ago, 3 years ago now. I can't remember how long it's been, but
Yeah, I was right after I did Trenton, so that was 2021. Yeah, it's coming up with 2.5 years.
Yeah, we did the whole. I built the whole compound, and we built a board, and I printed 400 Zulus. I wanted to print 4,000, but I quickly realized that was a lot, and I didn't have that much time. But I did print and paint 400 Zulus.
You guys use some kind of wave mechanic for that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, if a unit of Zulus, a stand of Zulus got wiped out, they got recirculated back to come back on the table somewhere else to simulate the 4,000 Zulus. So, yeah. So we used a rule set called The Men Who Would Be Kings or something like that. It was all right. It was more skirmishy than mass battles. I think that one really could use the Riskany Jim touch of a rule set. Just saying.
For rules for
like if you're doing 4,000 of something to simulate, because like I said, the rule set we use, it seemed more on a skirmish level, smaller unit battle.
I got you. Yeah.
Fighting 4,000 minis, and we were literally trying to do 1-on-1 for the model count. So because I printed.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and that does get tough. Because you're like, oh, just have one figure be 10 guys, or have one figure be 100 guys. Okay, well, now your British garrison is 1.5 figures.
Yeah.
So like what's the word for it? Games where the two sides have different unit scales gets really complicated and a little annoying. I mean, it's always possible. I mean, technically, that's how Panzerblitz started back in the 70s. You've got German platoons against Soviet companies. So people do it, and it is successful, but yeah, it does put a bit of a slant in the rules.
Yeah.
That's a good idea, Jen. Maybe create a playlist of your favorite games or your multi-level big deal games.
Yeah, we could do that.
Oh yeah, we should repost that Omaha Beach game. We did
Yep.
all of Omaha Beach. That Pinch Leader game took 25 hours. And it didn't even go that well, to be honest. But yeah, we've done. That's kind of one of the reasons why I'm not hitting D-Day very hard this year. Is we've already hit it, like as hard as you can. I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
I want to see. I want to talk to the guy who says who's claimed he's done all of Omaha Beach, both divisions, 116th Regimental Combat Team with 29th Infantry and 16th Regimental Combat Team with 1st U.S. Infantry. And done it in the actual scale, like a 7-kilometer board. It's.
And what scale did he use, though?
Oh, I'm saying I want to talk to the guy who's done that, so that I can say, oh, really?
Yeah.
Show me your work, show me your numbers, show me your math.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people will say, oh yeah, we've done Omaha Beach. I'm like, okay, you've done a section of Omaha Beach. You've done Dog Green or Easy Red or something like that. No, we did it all. I'm like, okay, here's what it all looks like. Yeah.
Interesting. Let's check up some comments here. Jen says we should create playlists of our favorite games. We talked about that. Russell Beetle said asymmetric sides. That's kind of what we do here, right? We're
primarily a modern warfare channel, so
yeah. So I mean, we did like the British versus the Americans. Damn it, Gaz. For the cup, he still owns it at this point. He is yet to re-challenge me, chicken.
He won't grant you the rematch. He won't defend the title.
But yeah, so there was a huge Omaha Beach table at Partisan done in 6M.
Even in 6mm, that table's going to have to be like 300 feet across. So
yeah,
I'm just saying,
Hi, Tuffy.
So then
I'm sure it was really impressive, and
yeah. One game we haven't one era we haven't delved into a lot. I mean, I think you've done a few things, Jim, but it's Vietnam.
Which is a shame because I've got a huge Vietnam army.
Yeah,
I've got all the factions. Both. I mean, we've done a lot in Valor and Victory.
Offensive in Op Center. If I remember.
In Op Center, we did a whole series just on Vietnam.
Yeah.
The first part was like the general overview of how the Vietnam War unfolded, and the second, rather than go through like all the battles and stuff like that, like we've done with other Op Center series, I'm like, you know what? Let's take like certain aspects. So like part 2 of that was like, look, here's like the different battlefield types, like the different kinds of boards you would set up in a Vietnam War game, because Vietnam, everyone knows, is a long, thin country. It goes down this coast of Southeast Asia, and it's split into those 4 tactical zones. Those 4 tactical zones have very, very different looks. And people just look at like a lot of people who are new to Vietnam will just look at some Vietnam movies. They'll watch Platoon, they'll watch Full Metal Jacket, they'll watch Hamburger Hill, and they'll just be like, oh, okay, I just put a bunch of trees on my table. It's like, well, some parts of Vietnam are very flat, and you see rice paddies. Whereas you go into War Zone C, close to the Cambodian border, there's no friggin' rice paddies out there. It's all mountainous. And then you go to where there are rubber plantations, and you go to where there are the river boats, and then you go to where there are the tunnels. And we tried to kind of break that out. Like, look, if you want to do it right, then this is where this particular type of Vietnam terrain would be, and type of battle. This is where that would be. This is where that would be, and this is where that would be. They're not just mingled up in this big soup that a lot of Hollywood movies, and frankly, a lot of war game designs throw out there. They just throw out Vietnam. They see these movies, and it's like, it's jungle. We'll put in some rice paddies and some river boats, and it'll be fine, and some tunnels. I'm like, none of those things are within 200 miles of each other. It's a very. Also, the difference between the NVA and the Viet Cong. I mean, a lot of people just think that, you're fighting the Vietnamese. No, there's Vietnamese, and then there's Vietnamese, and they're two to the point where those 2 factions almost wound up fighting each other. I mean, they never did, but they definitely did not get along.
Right.
And that's I mean, the Tet Offensive is a huge the proof of that. So yeah, we just tried to go through that. We tried to go through it in a more like, rather than segmented chronology in a chronological sense, more of like, these are the features that you see, and then this is why certain battles turned out this way. This is the kind of general dynamic of how the campaigns would go, as opposed to, this was Operation Hastings, this was Operation Starlight, this was the Tet Offensive, this was Zwan Lai or whatever, like the big battle at the end. If I even said that right, which I probably didn't. But yeah, I mean, I've got a huge American army. I've got a fleet of Hueys. I've got both Viet Cong and NVA. Did it heavily with other groups, but with SITREP, actually outside of Valor and Victory, Modern Expansion, we've never really done too much Vietnam.
Yeah.
Mark Ritchie's run a few games. I've featured them on the channel. Not only our part of Vietnam, but also the French Indochina part of it earlier as well. One of my few defeats at that club, by the way. But that's all right.
There's Dan Beyond Pew. I could do that one. That's another Alamo type Last Stand-ish.
Oh yeah, Piotr and I did a lot of those in Valor and Victory as well.
Yeah.
We did some of the different fire bases, Beatrice, Elaine, however you say it, in French. I was having a tough time balancing those games. I mean, I was playing the Viet Minh in those games, and holy hell, man, I lost. To lose a battalion in Valor and Victory, first of all, to even put a battalion on the table is insane, because it's a very small scale game. But to lose not only to put a battalion on the table, but then to lose the battalion in Valor and Victory in like 1.5 turns. Yeah. The French definitely inflicted some pretty horrific casualties on me. But once we finally kind of got it right, again, our maps were all based on aerial photographs. So, I mean, we custom drew the maps for that game, or a series of games on Dien Bien Phu. But even that was a while ago, and that's Hex Encounter. We've never done it in miniature.
Lots of territory. I mean, heck, you got Vietnam. You have the Punic Wars. You've got, we haven't even really done Napoleonics. That is a Pandora's box. You really have to be careful on opening. We've done some Civil War, right?
I think you have.
I have.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, this summer we'll go to Shiloh and we'll film a battlefield tour of Shiloh like we did Fort Donelson last year. Since we're like 2 hours away from Shiloh. We might go to Lookout Mountain and do that as well. We'll see. I'll do Shiloh first. We're 2 hours from Lookout Mountain too. In Chattanooga. But yeah, I mean, there's so much more to do. It's just having the time and resources, and everybody's got going on. And at one point, full transparency, I was like, man, I want to be better than what's that other channel that's out there? You met them at HistoricCon, Jim.
Oh, Little Wars.
Little Wars. And I'm like, you know what? That ain't our jam. They have their thing, we have our thing. So we do
Little Wars. I mean, I've only seen a couple of their videos. I mean, they're definitely fun guys.
Yeah.
But like, they're putting like Marine Blackhawks over Fallujah. I'm like, when did Marines have Blackhawks over Fallujah? And a lot of times, yeah, they have a lot more fun with it. Which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I at least for me, I try to take it a little bit more seriously.
Yeah. You know what, Jen? That is actually a good idea. Jim, we should do that. A retrospective video. We could sit and talk about, the who, what's, wins, whys, and how we got to where we're at. So, because we started this channel in 2018.
Yep.
So it's been a few years now. We've had our ups, we've had our downs. We've had some people come, and we had some people go. Gaz is still out there in the Ethernet. Sometimes he pops in. Bloopers. Yeah. I wish we saved the video for bloopers. we usually don't store the old stuff. We store the finished product, just for storage space wise. Um,
But Marty falling
but
off
Marty
a
falling off the
chair that will
bar
live
stool
forever.
will live forever on the Ethernet. But yeah, I mean, I'm thinking Chris Long, him and I were the beginning of this, and then thankfully Jim decided to heed my call and my begging. Please, sir, please come, please.
It was near the beginning of 2019,
Yeah,
somewhere in there. I had just stepped down from staff writer on tabletop.
yeah. So we just saw a different direction we wanted to go, and we felt we needed our own spin on it. But nothing against Beast of War on tabletop, guys. I love them to death. I love my brothers.
We literally wouldn't exist without them. So by all means.
So, but we just wanted to do our thing, and do it right. Jim wanted to make sure everything was historically correct, and there wasn't the spin of whatever. So that's why, thankfully Jim's come on board, and then Marty and Chris have come on board to help here and there, and Dawn is bringing some of the nonsensical stuff to us to ground us a little bit. It's really to help grow the audience out, because historical is so small and narrow.
Yeah.
Dawn in helps widen it, because is the chat foobar? No, I still see it. Because here's the thing.
Yeah, like for example, like we put up our videos on YouTube and they get like I consider a successful video if it gets 200 views in the first 24 hours, which I don't always hit. That first Anzio one hit like 400 or 500 in the first 24 hours.
Yeah,
that was definitely a good one.
Yeah.
But then you guys put up that one for Halo while you were at Adepticon. That was like 1,500 in the first 24 hours. I was like, holy shit, that's a big one.
Yeah,
Yep.
I haven't even looked to see where it's at these days, but I know we were over 15,000 views a month or so ago. But I bringing Dawn in to help widen the scope helps bring some people who may not consider historicals to start playing historicals, because there's crossovers, So there's that. Jen says, "Hey, I place the occasional tree on a table L."
That's an old inside joke. Yeah. We'll be setting up a table. She'll set up like 2 trees, and then I'll say, "Hey, Jen, help me set up the table." Everyone's like, "Hey, good job on this table, Jen." I'm like, "I put 3 weeks into this table." She put like 2 little Christmas trees on the table and like, "Yay, I helped." And she gets 50% of the credit. No, it's all fun. It's all good.
Exactly. And you know what? While we claim to be purely historical on the SITREP side, it's not always that way, is it, Jim?
No.
There's a certain annual thing you do at Christmas time.
Hey, those are strictly historical games. Christmas Carnage, that happens every single year.
Dennis says, "What you mean? There were not UFOs on the German forces?" Jim, say it's not so.
There were unidentified flying objects. There's a flying object that you didn't identify. Is that a BF 109 or a Focke-Wulf 190? Technically, it's an unidentified flying object. So there you go.
There you go. So that is awesome. Well, guys, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up the show for today. I'm trying to keep us at the hour mark, because people start getting, I got life and things to do, and we want to keep our numbers strong. So yes, Christmas Carnage. Excellent. Award-winning.
Yeah.
Award-winning Christmas Carnage. You know what? I think the next time Beast Award, on tabletop, do some award ceremony, we're going to nominate Christmas Carnage.
We totally should. Why has that not happened already?
Right?
Used to be featured on there.
Recipe, I don't got it. Like I say, any wargaming awards thing, like was it Miniatures? The magazine does a annual awards thing. We're gonna nominate Christmas Carnage. We're just going for it. We're gonna spam everybody.
Cool.
Dave? All right, guys. Thank you very much for joining our show today. I hope it was entertaining. It was really good. It's nice to be able to have just a good chat and talk about the who, what's, wins, the ins and outs of historical gaming in the channel. And we love the participation with you all. I know you probably hear this from every YouTube channel video you see, but when you look at the analytics, 68% of the people that watch our videos are not subscribers. So if you guys are one of those people, if you wouldn't mind hitting the subscribe button and the like button, I would so much appreciate it. Don would appreciate it. And I know Big Jim would appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.
Because that helps get the word out, and it just helps us get more motivated to produce some content for you. We're still in the midst of a reformat, redesign, at least on my side, to bring the content up to a level that I'd like to see it at from my point of view. Jim's is where it needs to be. I need to get mine to Jim's level. So we're working on that, and we appreciate your guys' continued support by watching our videos and liking them. And hopefully we'll have some more. I'm still waiting to hear back from Historicon, guys. Jim, just letting you know.
Oh yeah, I mean, we if we're gonna do that, we gotta set something up.
I mean, it's already June, and have yet to reach back out to us. They're the ones who contacted us, wanted us to come, but
he answered you.
I
and
messaged him
forwarded
back
it on to somebody else, and then we haven't heard.
And
back,
I messaged to say, hey, what's the follow up? And I have yet to hear back. So I will send another one, and we'll see what happens. But for Dawn and Jim, this is Bill for the SITREP podcast. And we will see you in the next episode. It's that second button there. Nope. Up. Yep.
You have been listening to the SITREP podcast. We hope you have enjoyed the show. Make sure you like and subscribe to all of our channels on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Discord. Remember to join us every other weekend for a new episode of the podcast, and don't forget our other programming on Wednesdays and Sundays. Thanks for listening.